Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference reaction for the FA Cup tie against West Ham tomorrow night or Tuesday night, depending on when you're watching this. Big updates from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Bit of a hard press conference to find, actually, because I assumed it was just going to be live at 1:30, but actually, because it's an FA Cup game, the way they've done it is he was asked all these questions straight after. I don't know why they do this for the FA Cup, but straight after the game against Everton, they've asked the questions and then they've kept it back, which is what they tend to do for this. But there is a big story coming out of the Manchester Evening News later on this morning about, well, it's already come out, about Manchester United being ready to spend significant amounts of money on a centre-back or a forward, depending on what happens between now and the end of the season. So we'll talk about that as well. Obviously, Amad Diallo, will he be involved? We'll talk about that. Injury updates, a few other things that Solskjaer has spoken about. And as I predicted this morning, there was a question about Dean Henderson replacing David De Gea from the same person who keeps doing it all the time because he's absolutely, or appears to be absolutely obsessed with getting David De Gea out the side. I've even heard, just on this, can I just say, I've heard that David De Gea has got quite a low save percentage. What a stupid, what is this? Save percentage must be one of the most stupid, irrelevant stats I've ever heard of. Save percentage. Oh my God. So if you play in goal for a team that people shoot from distance at, you're probably going to have a better save percentage. If you've got two crap centre-backs in front of you who keep giving chances away 5 yards out from goal, your save percentage is going to be pretty slow. One of the most stupid stats I've ever heard of, save percentage. Somebody might have a 90% save percentage because they only get shots from outside the box. And somebody might have a really low percentage because the goals they concede are totally preventable but are 6 yards out because of stupid defenders. Save percentage, my arse. What a stupid stat that is. Anyway, Amad Diallo. Will Amad Diallo start tomorrow? Will he be involved for the West Ham game? There actually wasn't a question put to Solskjaer about it, but I would say it's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely Amad Diallo will play tomorrow. And the hint in this really comes from the fact that there's no time to train. We had the day off yesterday against Sunday after the Everton game Sunday. Today is Monday. It will be light work. There won't be really any drills or anything like that. They won't be able to go over things on the training ground. It's just light work ahead of a game tomorrow. So Diallo, if he was going to be involved for this game for West Ham, they literally would have told him last week. And I mean, it doesn't mean it's impossible, but I'd say it's highly unlikely that Diallo will even make the bench for the West Ham game, despite there being a bit of rotation. I don't think he'll be involved. It doesn't mean that he won't be, but I think there was even a talk of him, a decision being made today in training. They're not going to have that sort of training. So if Diallo was to be involved, I think that decision would have already been made. So I don't think we will see Amad Diallo even on the bench tomorrow. We might as a surprise, but I don't think we will because of the short turnaround between the games, and I think that makes sense. Souček, red card has been overturned, says Mr. Industrious. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to do a bit of a preview on West Ham and that tonight on the 8 o'clock show, but this is the press conference reaction. But yeah, Souček's red card should have been overturned. It was a shocking red card anyway. I don't understand what Mike Dean was playing at there, really, to be honest with you. But yeah, so no Diallo. On injuries, obviously Paul Pogba. Now remember, this is not an update of today because Solskjaer hasn't spoken to the press today. He spoke to them after the match against Everton. But what he said is, in relation to Eric Bailly and Paul Pogba, he doesn't know whether they'll be fit for the West Ham game, but Eric Bailly looks more likely than Paul Pogba. I don't think Paul Pogba's involved in this game. I don't think Paul Pogba will play against West Ham. We can hope, but I think Paul Pogba's probably going to be out for 2 weeks at least, maybe longer. But I think he's out for... I don't think we'll see. We might see him for the Sociedad game a week on Thursday, but I don't think we're going to see him for the next two. Certainly not against West Ham. I think Pogba's not going to be involved in that. And even if there is nothing wrong with him and it's not that bad, he won't be risked in a game like this because he's obviously felt something. So we won't be seeing Paul Pogba against West Ham. I'd be absolutely stunned if we see that. We won't be seeing Jones either, Harry Moore, because he's injured at the moment. Before we go through some of Solskjaer's comments, though, I just want to feed this story in from the Manchester Evening News this morning. It's by Samuel Luckhurst, who is the chief Manchester United correspondent, and he's saying that he understands from Manchester United sources, I suppose, that Manchester United are looking to spend big, significant funds on either a centre-back or a forward in the summer, depending on how this season goes. Now, I think most of us would say spend significantly on the centre-backs, considering we've scored more goals than anybody, but we've conceded more goals than anybody in the top 10. So a centre-back looks like being the one. Congratulations on 980k. Thoughts on Twansebi, says Sam. I would like to see I think Twansebi, just very quickly, I think Twansebi, because we're talking about centre-backs, needs a run of games. In some ways, he's in a difficult position because Twansebi needs to play games. And if he was playing centre-back for a team like, I don't know, Southampton or Newcastle or something like that, he'd play every week and he would iron out the mistakes and he would become the centre-back I think we all believe he can. But at Manchester United, he's not trusted to get the games, so he can't develop and he can't iron out the mistakes. And I think he's in between a rock and a hard place here. We've seen how good Twansebi is. He's done it against Neymar and Mbappe, but we've also seen a couple of errors. He needs games to iron out those errors, but I don't think he's going to get the games, unfortunately. But we need him as a backup, so he can't get game time on loan. William McLeod, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you for joining. But yeah, the sort of centre-backs that are mentioned in this article are Upamecano again, of course. He's available in the summer for about 40 million. And Rafael Varane mentioned again, a player that always is linked around Manchester United, 18 months left on his contract. But what I found interesting about this article is that United are prepared to significantly spend money on a centre-back in the summer. That's absolutely fine. But it got me thinking about Harry Maguire, because there was a question in the press conference to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer about Harry Maguire. And it wasn't the question that needed to be answered, considering this was asked of him a few hours after an absolutely abysmal performance against Everton that cost us the points. The question posed about Harry Maguire was, Harry Maguire plays a lot of games. Are you thinking about giving him a rest? The question should have been, Harry Maguire looked like he needed a rest. He was at fault for 2 goals tonight. Are you going to give him a rest? But they don't dare do that. But I think that feeds into the significant spend here. And it got me thinking about the whole Maguire-Solskjaer relationship. And look, Ole has backed Maguire to the hilt. It's admirable how much he has given how much backing he has given his captain. And, you know, Solskjaer wants repayment in relation to that. And that's why he will stick by him. But he also sticks by him because this is an £80 million player that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer bought. This is not a Jose Mourinho signing. It's not a Louis van Gaal signing. This is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, £80 million, Harry Maguire. When people say about let's sell Maguire or let's strip the captaincy off Harry Maguire, that would be not only throwing Maguire out of the team and potentially, you know, damaging that relationship there. It would also be an acknowledgement that you've got it wrong. The most expensive centre-back in Premier League history is Harry Maguire. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer signed that deal off, gave it the thumbs up, however you want to do it. It's his signing and he picks him all the time. So there can be no doubts in anybody's mind that Harry Maguire is Ole's man. It's Ole's signing and it's Ole's player and he picks him. Contrast that with Van der Beek and I think it provides a lot of evidence about the truth behind both deals. Harry Maguire is a player that Ole wants and wanted and plays every minute he can. Van der Beek is a player that was bought under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's regime, but he hardly ever plays him, and you can see the contrast there. Harry Maguire is a player that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted. Van der Beek, I think there's evidence to suggest that might not be the case, in my opinion. But with Harry Maguire, people start saying, let's sell him this, that and the other. I think Harry Maguire is a player that we've got to get the best out of, and this is why he needs a quick centre-back next to him, because that's when you see the best out of him. But if you think Harry Maguire needs to come out of that team or Harry Maguire needs to be sold or anything like that, then you may as well take Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with him, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will quite clearly he's one of those players, and lots of managers have them. You know, Frank Lampard with Mason Mount. You know, there's loads of evidence of this through history. But Harry Maguire is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's man, and he's clearly going to stand by him, and he's going to fall on his sword with him if it goes wrong, or he's going to achieve with him. But that relationship is not going to change. That captaincy probably won't change. He won't stop picking him. He's going to stick with him. So this is why, as angry as I was on Saturday night about how Harry Maguire played, and I put the blame on him totally as a captain and a leader and as a centre-back as well, the solution is to find him and his form and the right partnership with him. Because it's very, very clear, no matter how much we spend in the summer, he is not going to be dropped and he is not going to be taken out of that team, because this is Ole's signing and he is going to fall on his sword with it, and he is going to stick with it, and it either works or it doesn't. So we need to find a way to make that back four work with Harry Maguire in it, because there's absolutely no way, whether it's right or wrong, whether you think Lindelof's better or not, whether you think we should sell him or not, that is not going to happen. Solskjaer's going to stand by him. And he said in the press conference, he has played a lot of football, but I haven't decided whether I'm going to give him a rest against West Ham. There's no way he's going to give Harry Maguire a rest. No way in a million years. He hasn't got the players to do it for a start. He will start Harry Maguire against West Ham tomorrow, because he always does, because it's his man. Ramos deal seems to be getting closer and closer, says Inflict. Oh, this is hilarious. Thanks for the super chat. This is absolutely hilarious. This is going to make you laugh, right? And welcome to the Members Club, OJ. There was a story this morning, I don't know where it came from, but I saw it tweeted out by some United account, that Ramos to Manchester United is really close. So close, he'll be flying into Manchester next week to do his medical. Now, this is amazing. They may as well call him, Bionic Man, because I find it amazing that a player that actually can't fly in for a medical until the end of the season, because he's not out of contract till the end of the season, but even better than that, is currently suffering with a serious knee injury. So he's going to fly into Manchester next week to do a medical, which Real Madrid wouldn't let him do anyway, whilst injured. I would say stay at home, Sergio, and don't waste the plane flight, because you're going to fail that medical because you're injured with a bad knee injury. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And it's like the Bruno contract talks. The Bruno contract talks have fallen apart. He's got 5 years left on his bloody contract. They're just working on a new one. There's no rush. They're not falling apart. And Ramos is flying in for a medical next week with one leg. Unbelievable. There will be a preview tonight, quick clips, yeah. There will be. So, yeah, it's silly season this morning, but that's got to be the biggest BS story of the year so far. Ramos is flying in for a medical next week. What's he flying in on? His own bloody feathers? I mean, just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But people believe it. I had people messaging me this morning. Ramos deal's close. Are you going live? Yeah, definitely. Premier League pundits blamed De Gea only, says Tariq Bester. So yeah, the next thing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was asked, and I tell you what, I was right. I'm not buying anybody a pint. What did I say this morning at the end of the show? I guarantee in the press conference that Solskjaer gets asked about De Gea's form, but he doesn't get asked about Maguire's form. And he didn't get asked about Maguire's form. He got asked about giving Maguire a rest. There was nothing about his poor performance, but there was a question that indirectly goes in on De Gea again, and it was about Dean Henderson and when he's going to get his chance, which basically translates to, why don't you drop David De Gea? And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer basically said that, look, he's very impatient. He wants to go. He's a good goalkeeper. He backs himself. But just the total and utter obsession from certain fans and certain media outlets about dropping David De Gea is hilarious. You are hilarious. You expose your bias ridiculously. Why don't you start talking about save percentages again as well? Please talk about save percentages, because it's the most idiotic stat there is out there. But I was reading some of your replies to the video this morning and some of your comments, and there were some fantastic ones in there. And it was like, if we're so bad at the back with David De Gea in goal, how many goals has he conceded against the top six this season? All right, 6 against Spurs, but we've had a lot of clean sheets against the top 6. If David De Gea is so bad, then why is he the only player in that team that's got a title? Put a good defence in front of David De Gea, and you'll get a very good David De Gea. Most of the stats that people throw at David De Gea are directly attributable to bad defending. We've seen it all season. How many goals have we seen because of our centre-backs? How many goals have we seen because on the back post because Wan-Bissaka tucks in or Luke Shaw tucks in to protect our centre-backs? How many goals have we conceded from corners because we're zonal marking? How many goals have we conceded from free kicks because the CDMs have been bloody reckless on the edge of the box? I would seriously say, before you start thinking about kicking David De Gea out of the team, please go and do what I did this morning before the morning show and watch every goal United have conceded this season, and then come back to me and tell me how many of those are down to David De Gea and how many of them are down to bad defenders. And you will be amazed at how much it is down to bad defending. The English media is so biased that it's so clear that we can see it, yet no one speaks up. United legends have to be fair in their comments, says Noagan. I speak up about it all the time. Because to me, it's abundantly clear that if you pull Pogba, David De Gea, Anthony Martial and Bruno Fernandes, you're going to get way more criticism than any of the British lads. And it needs to stop. And I don't know why it's allowed to happen. I don't know why people keep doing it, because I'm all for debate and I'm all for opinion, but it's constant. I've seen certain outlets trying to get De Gea out of the team for 3 months. 3 months. And he's been playing well. So, you know what? It does need calling out. It needs calling out in relation to, let's not swallow the bias, let's oppose it. And if they want to debate about it, let's sit down and do it, because that's what fan opinion's all around. But I'm not going to sit back and say, yeah, dropping De Gea for Henderson is going to solve all our problems, because it won't. Hi Mark, Greenwood is much improved, lad. All our forwards since Cavani's arrival, crossing regularly, trying to head the ball, which is great to see, says Shrikanth. And De Gea has joint most clean sheets in the league, and our defence has conceded more goals than the whole top half and Burnley. Says a lot, says Luke Purdy. Yes, it does says a lot. Our defence is shite. Our defenders ahead of the goalkeeper are shit. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Anyway, I liked the comment about Mason Greenwood, because Solskjaer spoke about Mason Greenwood and he said Mason Greenwood was different class against Everton. The only thing he didn't get was a goal. It was a standout performance. This is really good to hear from Solskjaer, because I said it in my match reaction and most of you agreed with it. Did you hear that Greenwood watches you, says George? He doesn't watch us at all. He was asked a question on Instagram about if he knew who I was, and he probably knows who I am from silly FIFA clips or something like that, because he's a young lad who's on social media. I don't think he watches the United Stand. I don't think there's any evidence of that. But if he is watching the United Stand, he probably should do, because we're going to talk about Mason Greenwood for a moment, because Solskjaer said he was different class against Everton. And I think many of you said that on the watch along as well. He was really good, because you know what? Digne is the best defender Everton have got. He's one of the best left backs in the league, and he left him on toast a couple of times. His defensive work rate was a lot better as well, and he was getting his head up, looking to make passes. I mean, for me, Mason Greenwood's a centre forward, having to take game time on the wing, which is fine. Loads of people have done that. Thierry Henry started on the wing. Martial started on the wing. Some would say he should go back to the wing, but I think Mason Greenwood at 19 is going to be a centre forward without a shadow of a doubt. I think you're going to see season on season the build of Mason Greenwood is going to get bigger and bigger, and he's going to become more befitting of a centre forward. But as of right now, that was a brilliant performance against Everton, and I think he's probably our best right winger at the moment. I think Beth said it last night as well. I'd agree. I think he's probably our best right winger. And he needs to start games, which is great, because you look at someone like Phil Foden at Man City and the season he's having, and we've got a Phil Foden, we've got a Mason Greenwood, different players, but certainly a talent that can be anything he wants to be. I think that will play on Mason Greenwood's head as well. I think it will play on his head. He'll look at Phil Foden, who obviously is a good mate with. He'll see what Foden's doing at Anfield and stuff, and he'll think, you know what, I'll have a bit of that. So I think only great things for Mason Greenwood. Obviously, people will say he needs to get his head down. I don't think he does need to get his head down. I think he's at the right club for that. He's a young lad. Things have happened. They do happen. He's at the right club to look after him. And obviously, he's already achieved a lot in his career to get where he is. For people to say he needs to get his head down and focus on football, I think you're totally misunderstanding what he's done already. Anybody in the Man United youth setup has already got their head down, because to get into the Man United youth setup, you don't just turn up with a pair of trainers and go, yeah, I'm off down the pub after this. You've got to work hard to get there. You've always got to work hard at Manchester United. And I think, great things for Mason Greenwood, and the things I've always said about Mason Greenwood, he can be anything he wants to be. There's not many players I would say that about. I can't say that about Marcus Rashford. I can't say it about Anthony Martial. I don't think they, as much as I like Rashford and Martial, I can't say at this moment in time they can be anything they want to be, because I don't think they can be on the same top 5 players in the world like a Messi or a Neymar or a Ronaldo. I don't think they can do that. Doesn't mean they won't, but I don't think they can. I think the trajectory of Greenwood is he can do that. Not that he will, but he can do that. And like I say, it's not that Martial and Rashford won't be one of the top 5 players in the world. They could be, but I don't think that they have the talent that Greenwood's got. I think Greenwood can be one of the top 5 players in the world. As I said, it doesn't mean he will be, but he can be. And that's why I always say he can be anything he wants to be. He can be the next Marcus Albrighton, or he can be the next Neymar. He can be anything he wants to be. When the defensive positioning is poor, it actually makes it harder for the keeper to make better decisions, says OJ. And I think, sorry, let me just read that. Greeny can put a good ball in, best support winger, says Inflict R6. And I think just because he's our captain, Ollie refuses to see Harry Maguire's mistakes. It frustrates me every time there is silence on Maguire's fault, says Luke Garrett. I don't know when you tuned into the video, Luke, but I think the best way for Manchester United fans to understand what's going on with Harry Maguire is to understand who bought him, how much he was bought for, and to understand that as a manager, you've got to back your players, but you've got to back yourself. I mean, imagine this: Ole Gunnar Solskjaer drops Harry Maguire, doesn't use him again. It's £80 million. It's his signing. It's a self-admission of failure. No manager is going to do that, whether it's Jose Mourinho or Jurgen Klopp. If you get it wrong on a player for that much, you're going to do everything within your power to back them. And you're also going to do everything in your power to back them because you sanctioned it. You saw something in them. So I think on the Maguire thing, we need to get our heads around that. He needs our support, but he needs to perform. And the best way for Harry Maguire to perform is to play with Eric Bailly or somebody quick. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to know that, and Harry Maguire needs to know that, and they need to do that as much as possible. And then Harry Maguire can have the future at Manchester United that we all want him to have. But there is absolutely no way people need to be getting frustrated about selling or kicking him out of the team, because it's not going to happen, because this is Solskjaer's player, and he's going to stand by him because it's what he believes in. And if he doesn't back what he believes in, what is he as a manager? So he will stay in the team. We just need the right player next to him. I don't think Diallo is going to play Matty Leg. I've spoken about that one already. Will there be rotation in this game? I think there will. Solskjaer was asked about it, but he didn't really answer it. He just spoke about whether Eric or Paul Pogba would play. He said Eric's closer than Pogba, and I think there's no chance of Pogba playing. Talking about a trophy, he says we want to win a trophy, but it's quite interesting because before we played Liverpool in the Cup, he was talking about the league, and he basically said the league's more important. Now, the league is probably not going to be won by us now, so I was interested to see what he said about winning a trophy and whether he'd change. Seriously, Solskjaer stuck with what he said. He said the league is the bread and butter, and that's what tells you what you're all about as a club. I think Solskjaer senses second place here, and he knows that if they finish second and they don't win a trophy, he can hang his hat on that and say, well, that's over a 38-game season. That's better than third. That's progress. Where's my money? Where's my contract? Where's my players? So I think Solskjaer's being quite clever there in putting more eyes on the Premier League and trying to say, look, the Premier League is harder than the Cup because it's 38 games and it's a better indicator of where you are, which I would agree with. But he did also say we want to win the Cup. But, you know, winning a cup can be about an easy draw. But when you get to the final, you want to win it. And the next step for us is to win a competition. So, you know, as I said last night, if we can get second place in the league and win the FA Cup, I'd be very happy about that. The Europa League, for me, I think it's a bit of a red herring, really. I think you could put a lot of effort into that in a very competitive tournament. And we'll be talking about that next week. I think the Europa League is a very competitive tournament this year over 2 legs. Is it 11 games to get to the final or 9 games? All on a Thursday night. I think the FA Cup and the Premier League is where Man United need to focus, in my opinion. But it doesn't mean we won't go for the Europa League, because you know what Ollie's like. He does like a trophy. He also said sometimes a draw is easy, as I've said. He was also asked about the home form, and he bit back on this, and he was absolutely right. He was asked about the home form and, you know, whether United's home form is a worry. It's funny because I mentioned this in the preview for the Everton game, and I said our home form's not as bad as it used to be. We're like 5th in the league in relation to home form, top of the league in relation to away form. So our home form's getting good, and Solskjaer was right. He said we're improving at home. We've scored 9 goals against Southampton, 3 against Everton, and 3 against Liverpool in our last 3 home games. So scoring goals isn't a problem. Obviously, the problem is defensively, but we're scoring goals, and I'm happy that we're playing at home against West Ham in the Cup because we don't have to travel. So if I've got the choice, I'd rather be playing at home than in London. So good answer from Ollie there. He was asked about the bounce back ability after the disappointment against Everton, and he said, look, the players need personality and character to lift themselves. There's no time to digest what happened. There's no time to go on the training ground and work on things. So, you know, we haven't got time to do that. We played Saturday night. We have Sunday off. We have a minor training session on a Monday, and then we're playing Tuesday night. We can't go on the training ground and work on drills and things like that. So the players have got to pick themselves up and show personality and character. He was asked about West Ham and said West Ham are doing well. Obviously no Jesse Lingard. Some people will ask about that. The Drifter said that. He spoke about Jesse Lingard, and he said that, you know, at the end of the day, somebody just said never give up on the league. Look, don't give up on the league. Don't give up on the league. Let me just say this. If you think Manchester United can win the league, don't give up on the league. I don't think we're going to win the league. I don't think we can win the league with that defence. That's not giving up on the league. I don't think anything is possible. If football's shown us anything is possible. So don't give up on it if you don't want to. I've not given up on it. I just don't believe we're going to win it. That's very different. Categorically, I don't believe we can win this. And if you want the evidence, look at the fact that we're going to be 8 points behind Man City when they win their game in hand. Look at the fact that they would need to lose 3 games and we would need to win every single game between now and the end of the season. Look at the fact that we've got to play quite a few decent teams still, and look at the fact that our centre-backs are basically like a saloon door. You know in the cowboy films where you just push, the wind blows it open. Can't remember what they call them. Saloon doors, isn't it? Yeah. So I don't think we will win the league at all, and that's just my opinion. But if you want to keep believing, great. I want to keep believing. I don't want the title race to be over in February, and it isn't over. If Man City did somehow lose a couple of games, it would keep it interesting. But ultimately, I don't think we're going to win the league. No, I don't. But keep believing if you want to. That's what it's all about. So I was asked about West Ham. They're obviously doing very well. No Jesse Lingard because he's on loan, so he won't be playing against his parent club. We spoke about Diallo. We spoke about Dean Henderson. And we've spoken about Mason Greenwood, who was absolutely fantastic. And we've spoken about this significant sum in the window. I saw you on a cowboy film on YouTube, says Melps. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that one. Please smash a like on the video, by the way, if you're watching. And Phil Jones in disguise. We can't win the league with Ollie, says Donny. I don't think it's anything to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, to be honest. And Mark, what do you think about Chelsea right now? Nothing, because it's not about Chelsea, is it? And Man City have got Everton, Tottenham, and Arsenal next, says Akshat. Yeah, but they've just had Liverpool at Anfield and they battered them. So excuse me for not having a lot of confidence that Man City are going to drop points. There is a career mode tonight I say tonight, about an hour and a half's time on That's Football. Do you want Van der Beek to play because Pogba is out, says Caden. Very good point. I mean, I'm going to do this. It's not really a preview show tonight, but it will be a preview because I'll do like team prediction and everything like that. But I do want Van der Beek to play, and he has played in the FA Cup. I think he started against Liverpool as well, didn't he? So Van der Beek should start. Dean Henderson should start. Alex Telles should start. But on the other hand, there's a large part of me that says this is a must-win game. So, and where does Van der Beek fit into the team? That's the interesting thing. I don't mind Van der Beek playing in the pivot next to McTominay or Matic, but he doesn't seem to want to do that. I think Bruno's got to play against West Ham. We're not playing again till Sunday, so there's a big break between those. Could play him off the left, could play him off the right, but I'd like to see Mason Greenwood starting as well. So, yeah, I do want Van der Beek to start. The question is, where will he start? Luke Shaw is the best left-back in the world, says Connor Kerr. I'll tell you what I love about Luke Shaw. You could almost say that Luke Shaw might have been at fault, not massively, but on a couple of the goals at the weekend. But he didn't get any criticism because he's such a good player. Is Diallo in the squad, Mark, says Rory. We don't think Diallo's involved in the squad because they haven't had a proper training session today. So we don't think Diallo's going to be involved. Even if the first and third goals were De Gea's fault, we still would have won 3-2. Not his fault. No one marked James Rodriguez, says Jamie. Yeah, but don't let a good agenda get in the way, said Jamie. Get De Gea out. That's what the media wants. Well, some of the media want. That's what some fans want. It's all about De Gea. It's all De Gea's fault. Let them have their say. It's not nobody else. Can't have, if you've not got a British passport, it's your fault, basically. Pogba is out for weeks. Mark, we're in trouble. Says we've got a Pogba injury update. Okay, let's have a quick look here. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has confirmed Manchester United midfielder Paul Pogba faces a few weeks on the sidelines. So there we go. Paul Pogba out for a few weeks, which is exactly what we predicted. Paul Pogba out for a few weeks. Well, what's a few weeks? What does that mean for Manchester United? Well, that's interesting that we've got that whilst we're live. So this is coming in from Simon Peach's tweet. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer confirms that Paul Pogba is out for a few weeks. I'm just trying to get if I can get any sort of exactity. Few weeks with a thigh injury, says Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It will take a few weeks to heal. He's just started his recovery. Well, look, Donny van der Beek was if Donny van der Beek was brought in as Pogba's replacement, then Donny van der Beek needs to get more game time, doesn't he? But Paul Pogba confirmed that he's out for a few weeks. I did say this as soon as he walked off. I did say it at the start of the video as well. A few weeks, I would say, and I've got it written down here, that he will miss if it's out for 2 weeks, he'll miss 4 games. If he's out for 3 weeks, he'll miss the Chelsea and Real Sociedad, both legs. If he's out for 4 weeks, he'll miss the City game. I would say a few weeks is 4 weeks at least. 3 or 4 weeks is a few weeks, could be 5 or 6. But a few is very hard to dictate to you what that means. So a few weeks with no Paul Pogba, I would say minimum of 3, maximum 6, means we won't have him for Chelsea, we won't have him for either leg of Real Sociedad, and we won't have him for Man City. The problem is we've done really, really well with transfers this season so far, and Solskjaer has described it as we've been lucky with transfers so far. The problem when you've got a player like Pogba out in February is, what if somebody else now starts getting injured? What if Pogba becomes McTominay? And what if McTominay becomes Lindelof? And then you start losing 2-3 players. That's the issue here. So rotation's going to be really important. We've got the FA Cup game tomorrow. Then we've got West Brom. Then we've got Real Sociedad. Then we've got Newcastle. Then we've got Real Sociedad. He's got to start using his subs. We've said this before. And he's got to start trusting those subs to rotate them into the first team. Can't buy anybody. So we've got to start using players better. Yes, it's great to keep your best 11 on because they are your best 11. But if he doesn't want to pick up more injuries, we're going to have to be careful. And by no means am I saying Pogba's picked up an injury because he hasn't been subbed off in previous games. He had a rest, literally, against, Paul Pogba's injury is just unlucky. He had a total rest against Southampton, plays against Everton, and he's off after half an hour with an injury. But you know what, on Pogba, can I just say, for anybody who wants Pogba to stay at the club or anybody who wants Paul Pogba to leave the club, look at Pogba's injury record over the last 2 or 3 years. And there is always an injury every season, sometimes 2, where he's out for 4 or 5 weeks, whether it's a hamstring, a muscle problem. Pogba isn't injury prone, but every season he gets an injury that's out. I mean, last season he was out for a very long time. So he does pick up injuries, Paul Pogba. Mark, think carefully. Shaw did not get targeted because he's British. He is our best player this past few weeks, says Niagan. And I don't mind De Gea. I'm not thinking he shouldn't be in the team next game, but he was a disgrace Saturday. Say it how it is, Mark. Don't be biased, says Robert McCormack. Robert, do not call me biased for a first. You're quite a regular on the live comments in the show. So if you want to be respected yourself, don't start calling people biased. I'm not being biased. I'm telling you who's being biased. The people who are being biased are the people who are putting the blame on David De Gea for Saturday night. So that's bias, Robert. I haven't said that De Gea didn't make mistakes in that game. What I have said is he doesn't deserve to be the scapegoat, which is what is happening with certain media outlets and certain fans. They are basically walking around with earplugs and a blindfold on saying, drop De Gea, drop De Gea. They will not watch the game back. They will not listen to sound advice as to who was really at fault. They just want De Gea out the team. That's bias. I'm not being biased. I'm saying if you're dropping De Gea, drop Maguire, drop Lindelof, and maybe drop one of your centre defensive midfielders. But to put the blame on one player is dangerous, because if he drops De Gea and he plays Henderson, idiots will go, that's it, we're sorted now, and the same problems will keep happening. If you want to address the problem, look at the all-encompassing problem. The bias is based against David De Gea and some media outlets and some fans who are obsessively relentless in trying to get De Gea out the team when he's actually had a very good season. And all right, he didn't play particularly well against Everton, but he's actually had a good season. So don't call me biased when I've actually been very even-handed ever since Saturday night in relation to where the blame should be apportioned and how much should be apportioned. And I think it's bloody disgusting how De Gea is being hung out to dry and scapegoated by some fans and some media outlets. I like De Gea. If it wasn't for Real Madrid's fact machine, he wouldn't still be at United, says David Page. Mark, what would your thoughts be if Ollie drops De Gea in the Premier League game starting at the weekend versus West Brom? What would that mean for De Gea's future, says Salah Ahmed? I think there's a very big chance it's going to happen because there is momentum behind it. And I think Solskjaer would be bowing to media pressure to do it. We know Roy Keane doesn't like David De Gea. We know that certain media outlets don't like David De Gea. We know that he's always been asked about David De Gea. There seems to be a relentlessness around David De Gea. And all I'm saying is, what a joke, because the centre-back pairing is the real reason we're failing this season. The centre-back pairing is the real reason we've got such a shit defence. But you know what? Change the goalkeeper, because he can sort out the centre-back pairing, can't he? He can play the offensive line, the offside trap offensively, can't he? You know, he can run back quickly. He can, you know, mark people on corners better. Bullshit. It's not. It's just not even-handed at all. But anyway, back to the point in question. Paul Pogba, out for a few weeks. Big blow for Manchester United. Will it be an opportunity for David De Gea? I think, sorry, David De Gea, Donny van der Beek. I think it has to be an opportunity for Donny van der Beek, because if Paul Pogba is missing the next 4 weeks and he's missing games against City, Chelsea, West Brom, Newcastle, Real Sociedad, West Ham, that's all 3 tournaments. That's the top 4 race, that's the Europa League, and that's the FA Cup. We're not going to have Paul Pogba for those games. The problem is, everyone says McFred. Why do you think we've had so many 0-0s against the top 6? Because we haven't got any creativity and we play quite defensively. If we want to score goals like we have been scoring goals, we need more creativity in that midfield. I don't think you get enough creativity from Fred and McTominay and Matic. So you've got to get Donny van der Beek involved, because if I'm the opposition and Paul Pogba's not on the pitch, I'm saying this: swamp Bruno Fernandes. He's the only creator they've got in that team. If Pogba's not in the team, Bruno's the only creative they've got. So swamp Bruno Fernandes. And if you do that, Man United aren't going to score goals. So Ollie's got to get creativity into that team, because McFred, they do a good job, but they don't create. Rashford and Greenwood do good jobs, but they're not really about being creative. Bruno's the creator. If you swamp Bruno now, there is no Pogba. We need another creative in that team, and I'll be stunned if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't realise that. And I think that's why, even when McFred have been starting recently, he finds a place for Pogba off the wing, because he needs that midfield creativity from deep that Pogba provides. De Gea can't take all the blame. It was both Maguire and Lindelof as well. We will never be successful with this defence as it stands, says Payno. I think they slate foreign players because most pundits are English, and if they meet them, it would be awkward if they slated them, says MK. And can't wait for Maguire to look like a fool when Hendo starts and the media turns and blames Lindelof just to show how biased they are, says Gabriel Noel. Well, I tell you what, I stand with David De Gea. I stand against the unfair bias that he is getting and the unfair scapegoating he is getting. I absolutely respect people who want to say that De Gea should have done better on Saturday. I'd sort of agree with you. But to put the blame on him and force him out of the team is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, and the bottom line really should be, if we want to improve as a football team, we need to concede less goals. And we're not conceding goals because people are shooting from 30 yards and David De Gea is letting it through his legs. We're conceding goals because people are running through 1-on-1 or 5 yards out from headers and scoring goals, because our defence is, specifically our centre-backs, are not good enough. Do you think Cavani get a rest with Martial starting? Well, I'll talk about that at 8 o'clock, Stephen Campbell, but I do think that Cavani will be on the bench and Martial will start, definitely. Please smash a like on the video. Subscribe, bottom right hand corner. We are on that road to 1 million, so subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Thanks everyone for getting involved. Thanks Robert as well. We've not fallen out, don't worry. It's just all about opinion, and I appreciate it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Stay safe, and we'll see you at 8 o'clock on this channel. And if you want to watch me playing a bit of FIFA, and De Gea will be playing. Oh no, he's injured on my FIFA career mode. So if you want to see Henderson in goal, he will be in goal in my FIFA career mode. Mark Goldbridge, That's Football, in about an hour's time. Speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching.